Good morning, Shallow Lake Church. Well, as a church, we say that we're on a journey, and this is a very different journey that we're on at the moment. And I keep waking up wondering, what day is it? I don't know about you, but every day seems to roll from one to the next. But this is Friday. And Fridays, do you remember when Fridays used to be special? Do you remember when we used to sit there waiting for the bell to go off in school so you could run out on a Friday because you knew you could play all weekend? Or you were about 20 and you were waiting for 5 o'clock so you could get off work, go home and go to a restaurant or a pub or just spend some time with your friends. Wow, those were good times. But things are a lot different now. And today we want to give a shout out to our essential workers, the key people, our doctors, our nurses, people who are looking after other people. Because their journey is not as easy as ours. I may be waking up wondering what the days are, but they're waking up having to go back into environments that are incredibly stressful, and sometimes incredibly painful, and we want to say thank you to you. You do a great job. I've asked a couple of the main theologians in our church, what are the number 2 rules? Number 1 rule and number 2 rule for us as Christians. So we're going to have a quick interview with those theologians right now. So guys, shouldn't you guys be at school?
No way.
Isn't school the best thing ever?
Not entirely.
What? Do you miss school?
Nope.
Oh. So, I'm going to ask you some... Weren't they amazing? Oh, I just want to eat them. The number 1 rule. This is all we've got to do this week. Number 1, be kind. Number 2, be kinder. Yep, and I know all you moms and dads are out there going, that's not a word. It is now.
Psalms 100. Shout for joy the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his people, the sheep of his pasture.
Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is God, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations.
It is, I think it's Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. It's really crazy with this pandemic. Crazy in the sense that I don't even know what day it is. We are living in a really wild time. I want to share a story about when I was younger. For those who know me, you know that I absolutely love motorcycles. It's just one of the most amazing things that has happened in my life, being introduced to riding. And when I was younger, my grandmother, who's also my mother by adoption, she bought a new car back in, I don't know, 1985 or something like that. And I would have been around 16 years old. And all of my friends had dirt bikes. And we lived on a rural area on a farm, and all the boys loved riding their dirt bikes. They would go on these motocross tracks and just have a whole lot of fun. And I was sort of left out because I didn't have them. My grandmother thought they were too dangerous. So she had this new car. It was a 1985 or something Dodge Omni, limited edition. And one evening we were out driving around, cruising around, me and the boys, and I had this really wild, crazy idea. There was a motorcycle track, and it was in the evening, it was closed, and I decided to go venture onto. You know, the funny thing is though, it wasn't a motorcycle track that has S-bends and all kinds of different wonderful hills and turns. It was a motocross track. And I took this little Dodge Omni on the motocross track, and I was just lining up to this one jump, and I was going really fast. And all of a sudden, we went up in the air. It was up, over the jump. And as we were coming down, everybody was like, holy shit, I just landed. And when I landed, everyone just thump, bang, boom, and a tire went flying off the car and rolling way down yonder into the motocross track, and even went on its own little jump. And we were all sitting in the car absolutely stunned, as if we had no idea this was going to happen. Now there's a thing called a frontal lobe. It's part of the brain that goes around the frontal area, and this part of the brain does not get developed until around 23, 24 years old. And I got to tell you, my mind was way underdeveloped. And it controls the reasoning, the logic, it controls the decisions that you make with wisdom and so forth. So we took the car in. Because we were on the dirt, the sand, we couldn't jack it up. So all the guys lifted the little Dodge Omni up and put this little donut tire on the car. And of course I had a curfew. And I had to be home by, I don't know, maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock on a Friday night. And I raced home about 80 miles an hour. When I got home and put the car in the garage, lo and behold, that tire was smoking. Oh, it was beautiful. Not very bright. A while later, I think in my last year of high school, I ended up losing my license for a year. My grandmother said, well, that's just too bad, because I was going to give you the car for your graduation, so you can go to college with it. So the first year I didn't have a car, but Kitchener Waterloo had a wonderful transit system, so it didn't bother me very much. And then when I could drive, I got my license back and I got in the car, and once again the lack of frontal lobe begins to really show itself. I was driving, I didn't know very much about cars. I didn't know much about the mechanics of cars. All I knew was that stupid oil light kept coming on the dashboard, and I was like, this stupid button light is broken, and I would bang the dash. Come on, turn off. Why are you on, you dumb light? And I was going down the expressway, and I was probably doing about 20. And all of a sudden, there was a great big bang. My car suddenly came to a stop. And when it stopped, it wouldn't turn back on. And so, of course, I brought it to a mechanic, had it towed, and they told me that the car had no oil. As my wife would say, shocker. Well, I had had the engine replaced. My grandmother confiscated the car, and she sold it. And I was without a car. And then one day I saw in the newspaper, I was looking for some wheels. It was in the summertime, and I was off school and working. And I saw an advertisement for a motorcycle for sale. And, you know, I had no intention of buying this thing. I went down to the place where it was being sold. It was this fella. It was a 1984 Seika 550 Yamaha. And so this is in 1989. So it wasn't a very old bike, and it was selling for, I think, around $1,200. And I thought to myself when I left my apartment, I brought $400 with me, and I said, you know, just in case I find a car on the way, and I wanted to have some money for a deposit. Well, of course, I had no intention of buying this in my brain at that time. But as soon as I got there, I got on the bike, I started it up, I gave it some gas, and I had no idea what I was doing. And he said, well, you just gently let go of the clutch. And I'm like, all right. And I just, boop, with the clutch, gave it gas, and up in the air it went, popped the wheelie, came down, and it stalled. I looked at him, he looked at me, and I said, sold. You know, one of the things that I absolutely loved about riding a motorcycle was it was just me. I didn't have to worry about other people or being around other people. It was just something I could do by myself. There were lots of times when I would be on my bike and getting off and sitting by a river and just thinking, just looking at the nature, feeling all alone and all by myself. And that, for me, was life. Life wasn't very easy for me. It wasn't easy because it just wasn't. And there's times when I would just sit there and think about all the things that have happened in my life. And I just didn't really want to be here. I didn't want to be around life. I didn't want to think about life. I feel very much alone. This pandemic feels that way. It feels as though we're isolated and once again, just not around people. And one of the things that I'm finding is that when I go out to the store, to the grocery store, as I'm walking through the aisle, trying to stay away from as many people as I can, to move as far away as I can. And there's something about looking at people and seeing in them the virus. If I get too close to that person, I'm going to catch the virus. If I say hello or I smile, I'm going to catch the virus. I find something happening with me right now. My mood is low. I find myself in moments of fear, of walking even around people and thinking about not getting close. Because I'm worried that I'm going to catch COVID-19, but I somehow have to keep so much distance that I can't even smile at someone. So what do? Do I keep hanging on to fear? Yesterday, after I spoke about my motorcycle, I took my daughter to a trail. that was open. And it was at this time that I was reminded about what I talked about a couple weeks ago, when I talked about it being the anniversary on that week of 1 year of my mother passing. And I talked about at that time walking along a river, and in the darkness finding hope and beauty and life, meaning, and all of those things, where it seemed like God's creation just opened up and all the colors of life just sprung forward in a dark clay place. And I find myself around the same time this year feeling very much like that. And I was reminded when my daughter was playing and running and full of joy in this place, on this trail. It reminds me of what I talked about a couple weeks ago. Finding beauty in the dark places. I suppose we have to find hope. We have to find life. Paul talked a couple weeks ago about God working in the background. We may not see him where we are, but rest assured that he is working in the background, even in our lives. And it's hard to see sometimes. But just being around my daughter, just opening my eyes to what was around me, even when I couldn't see hope. I encourage you this week, I encourage you right now to try and find that beauty, to find just the moment where you can see that there is hope. That's a struggle for a lot of people, especially in this time. But know that God is working in the background, even when we cannot see.
It's so beautiful back there. It's so beautiful back there, Daddy. You have to try.
I want to say a prayer. Father, I thank you for who you are. I thank you that you are working in the background, even when we don't know it. I pray that you would in this dark time show us the life that you've created in those dark spaces. Bring hope. Bring peace.
I climbed from the tree. Oh, wow, I love this place. Can we go down again?
We are returning to the place where we belong. Take me back to the garden. Take me back to the moment I heard your voice. Take me back to communion. Take me back to the moment I saw your face. And it was all so simple. It was easy to love. No space between us. It was easy to trust. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. Feels so good to know you are my friend. This is the garden, here in the place I find you close. This is communion, here in the place I'm fully known. And you were so, so simple, you're so easy to love. No space between us, it was easy to trust. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. And here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. My friend. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. And this is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. And here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are